If you think money is the key to making your woman feel safe, you are dead wrong. The real way that men create safety in a relationship has nothing to do with your bank account, and the pressure you're putting on yourself to provide is actually pushing love away. And in this video, I'm going to explain how, but before we get started, if you're returning to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button so every time I post a video on how you can become the man that women worship, you know. I'll share my personal story about how the pressure to provide ruined my relationship and how I created my current relationship where I am trusted, respected, and worshiped for far more than what I have to offer financially. The reason why you're placing so much pressure on yourself to provide, even when she still feels distant and disconnected, is not your fault. So we need to look at the cultural and historical roots of the masculine role as provider. So culturally, men are looked to put food on the table, bring home the bacon, and take care of the finances. But the problem with this view is that it places the value a man brings in a narrow little box of how much can he do, how hard can he work, how much can he produce. But there's so much more that a man can offer and needs to offer if he wants to create a relationship that has both sustainable chemistry and security. What this has created at the individual level is guys have been indoctrinated to believe that this is the only way that they can contribute to their relationship. And the other four critical ways of providing get left out completely. And then guys are wondering why their woman feels distant and closed off and ungrateful. They wonder why she's not just throwing herself at him in the bedroom. And the common refrain is, but babe, I'm working so hard. I don't know why you can't give me a break, or I don't know why you're not showing me more affection. But what the guys don't realize is that there are other things that matter to her way more than how hard you're working or how much money you're making. Before I share what those four lesser known but more important ways of providing are, I want to share a personal story about how the pressure to provide ruined my relationship and what I needed to learn to provide real stability in other ways in my current relationship that has led to true love and real attraction. So I thought my last relationship was it. I was head over heels for this woman and I saw a future for her. And I love to be her provider. I love to take her on trips. I love to plan elaborate dates and foot the bill for all of it. I enjoy doing that. And she enjoyed receiving it. And beyond the trips and the dates, I wanted to see her succeed. I wanted to see her happy and free and soaring. And at that point in her life, she just wasn't. So it became, how much can I do for her? How much care can I take? How much can I take off of her plate? And so I exerted myself. I poured out of myself and into her. And it all came to a peak when I took her on a 2 week trip to Europe that ended up being a complete disaster. We wanted to enjoy the adventure of exploring new places, but we just couldn't because there is an undeniable disconnect between us. Conversations felt forced, our usual laughter was muted, and I didn't feel like there was anything I could do to make it better. I thought because I had planned and paid for this trip that everything should be sunshine and rainbows. I felt like I was doing everything that I could, and it still wasn't enough. So, if any of you guys watching this have felt like you're doing everything that you possibly can for her, and it's still not enough, I want you to take the quiz in the description. It'll help you get an understanding of what the patterns are, the ways that you're showing up to create this. And when you complete that quiz, I will send you back a personalized video diagnosing your main love blockers and prescribing the keys that you need to create a new relationship that is both fulfilling and passionate. What I learned through this 2 week experience in Europe is that I was doing too much. I was being overbearing in the way that I was providing for her. I was overstepping what I was responsible for because I was placing all this pressure on myself to take care of her. I was feeling like I needed to do things for her that she could have done herself. And through that, I was unintentionally disempowering her. Instead of being a pillar for her, a masculine pillar of support, I was being a crutch. So I was in this archetype of the overbearing protector, and she was in this archetype of the damsel or the maiden, and she welcomely outsourced her power to me. And so she was left feeling disempowered. I felt angry because my view was that I was doing everything and it still wasn't enough. And so shortly after we returned home from Europe, she ended things with me. Now, neither partner is ever 100% to blame in a rupture or an uncoupling, but what I contributed to that ending is that I had lost touch with what it actually means to be a masculine provider. The truth about being a provider is that it's not about the trips or the elaborate dates or the expensive gifts. You can have all of that and still be in a relationship that feels flat and cumbersome. And when we only focus on being that financial provider, we're leaving out the things that actually mean more to her. And we're placing way too much pressure on ourselves. When we act as if financially is the only way that we can provide, that's like focusing our investment strategy on only one stock. It's a stupid strategy because if that dips, then we're bankrupt. So the better strategy is to diversify, to provide in multiple ways so that she feels safe and secure even when business isn't booming. Throughout this video, you have heard me mentioning the four lesser known but more important ways that men are responsible for providing. And here they are. So, under this umbrella of providership, here are the four ways that we provide beyond just finances. The first is presence. How can you fully be with your woman with undivided attention and genuine interest? The poet Mary Oliver told us that devotion starts with attention, or she said, attention is the beginning of devotion. So, how can you really be with your woman? How can you provide presence to her beyond what she receives from anyone else in her life? And more on practical tips of how you can implement more presence later on. Number two is protection. And physically protecting your woman is very important, being the man that can do that when required. But in our modern world here in Western culture, it's not very frequent that she's in physical danger. So, what I more mean by protection is that she knows she can bring her emotional storms to you and you can stay rooted. You can remain as that pillar, that nothing she brings to you is going to cause you to lash out, get reactive, defensive, withdraw, or shut down. That she knows that you can hold all of her. Now, the third thing that we get to provide is caregiving. And notice I didn't say caretaking, and there's a key difference between caretaking and caregiving. Caregiving comes from a place of genuine help. Caretaking comes from a place of self interest, where we are taking care of someone in a way so that our fears of abandonment and criticism are alleviated. If we just take great care of them, then they will never leave. If we just take great care of them, then we will receive the validation that we need through a relationship. So, what I experienced during that trip in Europe, I was caretaking rather than caregiving. So, caregiving is an energy of helping, caretaking is an energy of rescuing. We are not saviors, we are not rescuing our woman, we are empowering her. And the final piece that we get to provide to our woman is leadership. She needs to know that we are certain, clear in our direction. She needs to know that she can trust where we are leading her. so she can soften into her feminine and allow you to lead the relationship forward in the external world. Now, she is responsible for the internal world, the emotional world, for holding that, facilitating that in the relationship. And as the masculine pole, as the man, you are responsible for leading the relationship in the external world. And I'm going to share practical tips for each of these four ways of providing. Next, I'm going to give you some practical tips that you can bring into your relationship today to start to provide for your woman in new ways that are going to delight her. But before I do, I'm curious, which of those four pieces of providership do you believe is the area that you can grow most into? And leave this in the comments. Was it presence, protection, caregiving, or leadership? Let me know in the comments. The biggest tip when it comes to providership is diversify, is learn the skills and the techniques that are required for you to be able to provide for your woman in all the ways that she needs you to. So when it comes to presence, learn first to be present with yourself. Develop a practice every day where you sit in stillness and silence, where you notice your breath, you notice your physical sensations, you notice what's happening between your ears, and you notice what emotions are present. The more present that you can be with yourself, the more present you're going to be with her. The more you're going to be able to notice her breathing. Is she regulated? Is she starting to pick up the pace in which she speaks? Can you invite her to take a breath and slow down? Can you watch her nonverbal cues? Can you invite her into deeper understanding with open ended questions instead of statements? So have time together without phones, without screens, where it truly is just you and her, undivided attention. So that's your tip for deepening presence. When it comes to protection, again, it all starts with the individual. So, learning how to be with your own emotions, and yes, you have them. Emotions are a universally human experience. So, learning to be with your emotions, learning to name your emotions. Right behind me is the wheel of emotions. And as men, we don't really have emotional vocabulary to describe how we're feeling. So, that wheel of emotions is a great place to start to develop that vocabulary. And so once you learn to identify your emotions, learn how to express them from a rooted place so that you can be with her emotions too. And vulnerability can be a scary thing for a guy. We're worried that when we express our emotions that will come across as weak or unregulated. But for tips on how to express and be with your emotions in a healthy and masculine way, make sure to go watch my video, A Man's Guide to the Art of Skillful Vulnerability. It's on this channel. Now, when it comes to the tip for caretaking, notice how you can give her care by empowering her. Notice how you can encourage her. Notice when you caretake, when you do things for her that actually disempower her. So, what is she not seeing that you can lovingly invite her into? And when her energy and self esteem are low, how can you step in and give her a boost and let that always be from the energy of helping, never rescuing, never saving? And the last practical tip is to deepen the providership quality of leadership. So, leadership means that you sit down together and that you lead this whole process of creating a shared vision for your lives together. Do you see a family together? How do you foresee yourselves parenting? And if your relationship isn't that deep yet, do you see yourselves traveling together? How often do you see one another? What are the things that you do for fun? How do you plan for the future together? What do you need from her to feel loved? What does she need from you to feel loved? What doesn't feel like love to her and to you? So have a conversation on what you need from each other, on what your vision is together, and how you can co create that vision. And then, as the masculine partner, as the man, it is up to you to set boundaries that amplify your path toward that vision and that you help her readjust when she steps outside the lines of that vision so you can continue co creating from a place of alignment. And it is totally natural for your woman to test that vision, to see where the boundaries are, to see if you will enforce a boundary. So it's not about controlling her, it's not about making every decision, it's about reminding her of your shared values and what's most important to the two of you in partnership. Now, thank you for watching. If this resonated with you, make sure you hit subscribe and share this video with another man who needs to hear this. And if you want to dive deeper into your relationship skills and build the techniques that are required for you to have a relationship that has both chemistry and security, then click the link in the description, take that quiz, and when you complete it, I will send you a personalized video back identifying your main relationship blocks and granting you the keys that you need to become the man that your woman worships in your next relationship. Go ahead and drop in the comments what video you want me to make next, and I'll see you in the next one.